All right, everybody. Well, welcome to this exciting webinar on how technology can be used to recruit and retain millennials. I'm Josh Sadzinski, VP of Marketing at Caremerge, and I've been here for about 10 months, previously worked at other technology companies in Chicagoland. I'm accompanied today by Jennifer Murphy, who is the Director of Life Enrichment at the Esquiline, a life plan community. She leads a team of supportive services to include activities, concierge, pastoral care, transportation, and wellness. We're also joined by Braden Rolsing, a student over at SIUE. She will be sharing her insights on technology as she enters the workforce, and we're really excited to hear her viewpoints. Lastly, we have our very own Kim Kessler here, VP of Product at Caremerge. Kim has spent the past decade focused on leveraging technology to improve communication and quality of life in senior living. For our agenda today, we're going to hear Kim talk about technologies impacting the workforce. And then Jennifer is going to talk a little bit about their story at the Esquiline and their perspective on technology and how they used it to recruit and retain millennials. And then lastly, we'll go to Braden, and she'll talk about her perspective on technology as she enters the job market. We'll have some time at the end for some question and answer, so about 15 minutes. So make sure you have any questions. Be sure to put them in the Q&A as we go through. So before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded. We'll send it out as an email afterwards, so the recording will go out after, probably sometime early next week. If you do have any questions, make sure you post them to the question and answer section. We'll review those at the end of the webinar. And if you have any audio or video issues, just put them in the chat window and I'll be sure to get to them. So before we get started, just want to do a quick minute overview on Caremerge if you haven't heard about us. We've been around since about 2012, and we provide simple and user-friendly clinical and engagement solutions that help eliminate communication silos, inspire collaboration, and provide actionable insights that improve quality of life and quality of time spent with residents. We're backed by some strong investors like Ziegler that's over here right by us, and we're headquartered right here in Chicago. So that's enough about us. Let's jump into the webinar. I'm going to pass it over to Kim Kessler, who's going to take it from here.
Thank you, Josh. So you're here because you know there's a tightening senior living labor market, right? So what we're looking at on this slide, the industry, senior living industry is outpacing the market in terms of job growth by 3.7%. And we need to recruit 1.2 million new employees in the next 7 years. So with this labor shortage, the way to address it head on is through attracting and retaining millennials. You're competing against brands like Apple and Target. You're competing against other entry-level positions for communication and PR. So how are you going to stand out? We want to make sure that you don't miss out on the best talent available to you. As Josh mentioned, I've been in the senior living industry for over a decade now, and we really do have something special to offer when it comes to recruiting and retaining millennials. And I know it costs a fortune to recruit and train your staff. For direct care workers, for example, you might not even break even on that investment for 12 months. And once you get them in there, you want them to stay. So with turnover rates in our industry in the sometimes 30 to 40% range, how could we possibly expect to serve residents and their families better if we don't address some of these recruiting and retaining issues? So who are the millennials that we're talking about? Just a quick overview here. The Millennial Generation now comprises the largest share of our workforce. So 77 million strong. Today, millennials are between the ages of 18 and 36. They comprise more than 30% of the American workforce. So this means there are more millennials in the workforce than there are boomers. And something else we talk about a lot in senior living is the boomer generation. And when we think about the boomers retiring, potentially moving into senior living communities, what we should think about also is who's going to be stepping up to fill those leadership and management positions that are potentially vacated by those retiring boomers. Millennials are defined by technology. When asked, who do you believe defines your generation? For better or worse, they said this guy, Mark Zuckerberg. Very timely, he's swarming my news feeds this week. When asked what makes your generation unique, millennials will describe technology use. So 24% of millennials say it's our use of technology which makes us unique. They have a more positive view of how technology is affecting their lives than any other generation. More than 74% believe that new technology makes their lives easier. So this is a generation that was the first to come of age with cable TV, the internet, and cell phones. They're entrepreneurial. They view themselves as very smart and capable. Because of this, technology implementation for millennials is obvious and easy. Obvious and easy. These are two words that we didn't often hear during project kickoffs a decade ago. So what do millennials crave? I'm going to summarize some of the key points, 3 key points from this Nielsen Market Research Survey, which attempts to demystify this generation. So a few key points. Millennials crave real-time communication and feedback. This generation experienced the rapid change of communication through technology, immediate response times of text messages, instant messengers, and group chat applications. So it's not just for personal matters. They're now part of employee demand. Millennials crave collaboration and sharing. And something that we'll get to is how technology, especially technology that expedites communication and collaboration, is a key part of that recruiting and retaining strategy. The next piece is around efficiency. I think millennials get a bad rap for being slackers sometimes when they're actually maybe just more efficient. They don't have patience for bureaucracy. They use technology to automate processes. They value their well-being and leverage technology to do a better job faster and from virtually anywhere. So technology is really opening doors for how we work and where we work. And this last point, I think, is the most important: purpose. And this is something that resonates with our industry. There's a lot of purpose and mission-driven initiatives in senior living. Millennials want roles that offer purpose and opportunity to change their personal and professional environment. So if you're interviewing millennials, you're going to hear questions like, are we going to make a difference? Okay, how are we going to make a difference? And that purpose and that desire to really make a difference is very common in this generation. And if we ask them, how do you want to make your impact? For example, the Future Workforce Study said resoundingly, millennials want to make their stamp on the world through technology. And it makes sense that they think their smarter use of technology is going to allow them to accomplish and achieve things that we wouldn't have previously thought possible. And what you can offer them is all of these things, really. And not only will you be offering, real-time communication and feedback, an opportunity to make their work lives more efficient, a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, but you'll also be painting a picture of what their career path will look like. So I'm entering this workforce, describe my career path. Where am I going to go from here? These are really key parts of that recruiting strategy and retaining strategy for this particular workforce. So whether that progression is to management or maybe a more senior role or senior expertise in that role, I can't think of a path forward to those leadership positions that doesn't require a command of some technology to do the best job. So what are some of the technologies that we think, and what are some of the trends that might impact your ability to recruit and retain millennials? So the first one, real-time communication and collaboration tools. So this might be instant messengers and group chat instead of email. Could be social media tools. Oh, sorry about that, Josh. With respect to efficiency, here are some technologies that you might want to look into leveraging in your day-to-day at your organization and also in your recruitment strategy. The use of mobile apps, the use of CRM and marketing automation tools, project management and task management apps, and anything that would really empower that sense of ownership for delivering real-time feedback. So that might be through digital surveys, reporting tools, or technology that you can employ in your organization that allows millennials to take ownership of the trends and the effectiveness that they're able to achieve through their particular project. With respect to a sense of purpose, I think we, through technology, the senior living industry is able to sell on meaningful connections. So in that recruitment process, that sense of purpose through connecting with and establishing relationships with older adults and their family members, helping to reduce some of the family frustration and guilt. So how can technology help us to reduce family frustration, reduce guilt, establish connections, improve resident health and wellness, and really deliver that sense of ownership for someone who's joined your organization to get to implement, enact, and really generate a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around that tool. So to compare some of these suggestions and ideas for technology that you might use, let's compare that with some of the flip side of the coin, some don'ts that come to mind. So with this generation, don't rely on email as your only communication tool. It's certainly a necessary means, but look for things that open up real-time communication and collaboration. Look for tools that don't require a lot of double data entry or circulating outdated news, printing old information, and don't be afraid to share good news and really to empower this workforce with sharing information in real time and sharing really positive information and feedback. And I think the timing is right for us because consumers in senior living, whether it's your residents or their adult children, they've come to expect technology. Sometimes people, especially over the last decade, I've had conversations with people who kind of look at me and say, Kim, do you really think that in my community where the average age upon entrance is 82 years old, that they're using technology and they're logging in and they're online? And something that really inspires me is 44% of seniors over the age of 80 go online every day. And smartphone adoption among seniors quadrupled in the 5 years from 2011 to 2016. Think about adult children as your consumers. 78% of Americans age 50 to 59 own smartphones, expect communication and feedback in real time, and 90% of adult children say that having Wi-Fi in home is the most important feature of continuing care retirement community residents, next in line only to emergency or nurse call solutions. So if you don't provide technology and if we don't switch gears from like a cable package to a technology package and advertising that for our prospective residents, what we're finding is that your residents or their family members will. They're highly educated, and there are some really cost-effective solutions on the market that will help them install their own technology to help keep track of mom or dad, or even to keep track of how often staff is visiting their apartments. So thank you for the opportunity to share these technology trends and insights. And we're going to hand it over now, Josh, to Jennifer from the Esquiline. She's going to share her experience recruiting millennials and using technology and academic partnerships.
Yes, we are. Thanks, Kim. Those are some awesome facts and some really good insights into the trends. So I'm going to pass it on to Jennifer Murphy. Are you there, Jennifer?
I am here.
Awesome. All right. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Josh and Kim and Caremerge for inviting the Esquiline to this conversation. We can definitely admit at the Esquiline that we certainly aren't the experts in utilizing technology in the field of senior living, but, we have this awareness a little bit about what Kim spoke about, that we really have to shore up our programming and our products to match the type of person and persona that we're trying to hopefully attract to live with us. And so why technology? I'm going to talk a little bit about why our organization chose two technology tools specifically. One specifically working with HR to recruit the right person, and the other is Caremerge and their communication platform and how we utilized it at the Esquiline. So before I start and dive into that, I'll tell you a little bit about, just to give you a little biography about who we are and where we're located, just to paint a picture. So we are a life plan community, and we are very fortunate that we are located on 200 plus acres of ground, and we sit amongst the shrine, a national shrine of Our Lady of the Snows, and we are located in Belleville, Illinois, but we are about 25 minutes away across the Mississippi River from St. Louis, Missouri, to give you a little bit of perspective. And we are a continuum of care community, so we serve all levels of living here, from independent residents to assisted and memory support to skilled care. And we have some exciting things happening on our campus, particularly that we have been in the senior living industry, if you can believe it or not, for over 50 years. So we really have a stellar reputation in this area. But the time is now that we are starting to create a strategy for a repositioning of our campus, meaning we're securing some master planning for particularly some new build in our independent portion, but also some renovation and updating of amenities and updating of assisted living and skilled care buildings as well. So it's an exciting time. That we are fortunate enough to be working toward this new build. But with this new build comes the demand for new product and new programming. And kind of along the lines to echo what Kim was speaking of is the expectation of who we are serving now has changed, and certainly with amenities, but also with technology and with communication. And I think Kim had mentioned, there is a real desire and an expectation for communication in real time. And so our organization started looking at what technologies are out there for this type of service, and that is what drew us to Caremerge specifically, but also to another technology that we're utilizing in recruiting in our HR portion of our organization. Next slide, Josh. So Kim was speaking primarily about the need and the desire in the workforce for millennials. And we at our organization have started really taking a deep dive, if you will, in recruitment specifically. And one of the technologies that we're utilizing is a software that helps us build profiles, and that's behavioral and personality profiles for each specific job role, and trying to take those top candidates who are searching for that specific role, and seeing if by creating a predictive index, we try to measure and match the right individual to the right role. So we've been working with someone in our area. His name is Dr. Zach Schaefer, who is working with us with these predictive indexes. And we have noticed that similar trends to what Kim was speaking of, that our organization was a little bit stagnant, if you will, in our offerings and what we thought was attractive. We were a little more excited about certain formalities, whether that was a benefits package or organizational structure, and we weren't really speaking the language to what the millennial demographic is wanting, which is a more collaborative environment. And our data that we've been using has really been backing up pretty much verbatim for what Kim was speaking about. So it's really quite interesting. So we decided to kind of invest not only our time, our effort, but also our money in, because of the fact that the data just shows many of us in this field of senior living struggle with retention. And, we all can empathize with what that really does to your organization from a cost perspective, from just the atmosphere that creates, and just the real struggle of what that does to your organization when you have to replace an employee. So this is one avenue of technology that we've invested in that's been effective for us into understanding how to speak the language of the demographic that we're now trying to attract, which is that millennial demographic. Next slide, Josh. So then I'll just give you some real examples of what had happened with us and what our ultimate goals are in utilizing and leveraging technology. We at the Esquiline have the good fortune of having some established academic partnerships in our area. We have quite a few universities close by, and we have established relationships with them. But what we were kind of discovered is, we were kind of hitting the mark in regards to supporting and attracting maybe some younger demographic clinically, but in other areas of our organization, we were just kind of missing the mark there. And so we really were trying to make a concerted effort to how to create avenues or platforms to attract either students on a collegiate level or an advanced high school level to hopefully spark an interest in this industry. And so I'll give you an example of what had happened with us. A colleague of mine and myself were invited to it was called a service fair. So there's a local university called Lindenwood University in Belleville, Illinois, that we have a partnership with. And their director of their career development center was just all over at every chamber event trying to recruit nonprofit organizations like ourselves to participate in something that they were calling a service fair. Why they were having the service fair was pretty unique. They have a requirement for all of their incoming freshmen to take a course called University 101. And this was the first year that they decided that they were going to implement a service component to this particular class. And part of the service component was the Career Development Center had to recruit industry out there to participate, so that when the students were seeking a place in which to provide their service, we were already there. So mimicked a career fair, but the intention was to try to recruit these students to your organization to fulfill their service requirement, and obviously creating something that's mutually beneficial, not only for them, but for the organizations. So we were super excited about the idea of participating in this and thought, oh, this is going to be great. We have real FaceTime, a real-time avenue to connect with these students, and we're so passionate about this industry. Surely that's going to translate, and they're just going to be so excited to work with us. But what we found was the complete opposite. That we were at this service fair amongst other non-for-profits that the students, were really familiar with, like Big Brother, Big Sister, Special Olympics, Job Corps of America, that kind of thing. And we at the Esquiline in our area have been here for quite some time, like I said, over 50 years. So we had the expectation that because we are on the grounds of the National Shrine, most people may not be familiar with our long-term care community, but they're certainly familiar with our location, which is the National Shrine. Well, these young college students were primarily from out of the area, which was surprising, and quite a few were international students. So they had no idea who we were, what long-term care was, and they just kept bypassing us. So we literally had to change our messaging in the moment. And what was interesting is we could not draw them in with long-term care, even though we were extremely passionate about it. It just was missing the mark. But as soon as we started talking about Caremerge and how we use Caremerge and how we need help with Caremerge and developing the software in our community, it was like just an aha spark, the light bulb went off moment. So we went from just getting completely bypassed by all these students to literally having a crowd of young people around our table, and now signing up to implement and fulfill their service requirement with us. And the platform that we used was Caremerge specifically, but we were speaking their language. We started talking about social media. We started talking about communication. We started pitching, wouldn't you love to be a part of implementing this to not only our residents, to our family members, but to the community as a whole. And they were just super jazzed about it. So it worked. So that was the first time that we saw a real shift in using technology as leverage to at least, if anything, get some interest and draw them in. Next slide, Josh. And then I'll speak a little bit about another project that we were fortunate enough to be a part of. And again, this is with an academic partnership. And just to echo again, these academic partnerships were effective in the past with avenues like clinical services, with nursing, or with PTOT, or with perhaps social accountability. But because we had that experience at the service fair, which ignited a real partnership with that particular university, which also created an awareness in their career development program for the main industry of senior living. We now had another opportunity with an additional university, and we decided to use that experience that we gained from the first service fair. And we thought, you know what, we're going to try this again, and we're going to see if we just can't use technology and Caremerge specifically to really drum up some exciting projects. So we started working with one of our local universities. It's Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville. And again, used our relationship with Dr. Zach Schaefer, who helps us with behavioral profiles and predictive indexes. And in his spare time, he is a professor of communications at SIUE. So we took this partnership with Zach, and he approached us on a senior level class for a senior capstone project and said, okay, Esquiline, we have a need because as a component in order to graduate, these seniors, have to pick a project in which to fulfill their capstone, their senior capstone project. And so what it is we were able to pick 3 different elements of how these students in their senior capstone communications class could serve our community at the Esquiline. And so taking the knowledge that we just gained from the other university, we thought, okay, we had 2 other needs within our organization that we wanted to talk about, but the third one was Caremerge, and we really wanted to present a platform to these students as, why don't you come in? Basically, the gist of it is these senior capstone projects, they serve organizations as like a consulting firm. And so they have to really mimic a real world scenario because quite frankly, they're all getting ready to graduate in May. So this is good practice for them. And so anyway, I went to SIUE along with a colleague. And again, this is the first exposure most of these students had ever even had to senior living or long-term care. What is it? We've not heard of it. And so anyway, we started the conversation again, just with a little education. But what was interesting is as soon as we started talking about our proposal of how they could help our organization really look at Caremerge as project management and really fully develop it within our organization. I mean, again, they were so excited and they started asking really impactful questions. How are you utilizing this software right now? What do the residents want from this software? What do the families want from this software? It was just fascinating that as soon as we started pitching something that A, they're comfortable with, and B, they're excited about, which is, again, technology, we had them, we had their interests. And ironically, this student class had to separate in groups of 4. And I can tell you there was a lot of behind the scenes negotiating on who was going to get this Caremerge project because they all kind of wanted it. So anyway, how this particular student senior capstone class served our community utilizing Caremerge was just fascinating. They were looking at this product in a way that we in our organization really hadn't looked at before. And they created an organizational structure that we're now going to implement in real time within our organization. And I'll give you just a little bit of example of it. They decided that it was very necessary within each department who was utilizing this product, this Caremerge product. Some specifically would be like dining or activities or concierge or marketing, and create a Caremerge champion within that department to really own utilizing Caremerge. So that was one element of it, and they decided to schedule training sessions on how to implement and train these Caremerge champions. But what's really impactful about that, not only was that utilizing this software in a way that we hadn't thought of before, it really spoke to helping us retain our employees, because now we're creating avenues in a department that normally wouldn't have access to this type of job role, really. Take dining, for instance. We targeted some of our younger dining crew, and yes, there's a bit of ageism there, but we really wanted it to be a platform to give this employee who's working in our dining department a chance to work on an element that they would never be able to work on, and that's using the computer. And these students created an actual page on community engagement for dining, and that page is titled something like Healthy Food Facts. And that particular person, who's a Caremerge dining champion, will now implement that specific page on community engagement on either a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. So again, it's like, okay, creating an avenue or a platform, if you will, to hopefully ignite and engage some retention in a department for an individual who wouldn't normally have access to something like that. So it was brilliant. I guess if you can advance the slide, Josh. A real takeaway that I guess I would love for all of us in this industry to kind of embrace is, we are really good in this field right now of shoring up a great product, right? There's a lot of new build out there. We all have these wonderful amenities, and we're really investing in programming to match the boom in this industry, if you will. And so we're doing a good job of that. We're also doing a good job of being committed to culture change clinically, really having a concerted effort to offer person-directed care. But I think we in this industry, and specifically at the Esquiline, we really had to take a moment and just evaluate, hold up a mirror, look at what was reflecting back and saying, are we on board with technology? And boy, oh boy, if we're not, we really need to be. We fully embrace and are grateful for utilizing technology and are grateful to companies like Caremerge, who really kind of created that platform for us, because I'm telling you, even though this is new, so this is probably now that we've been using these tactics for about a year, but we have, because of using technology as leverage, it's a way to get some exposure in academic avenues, whether it's in career development, to really sort of highlight the fact that, this is a field that we know is certainly it's a graceful service, it's all about connection, but it's just, how do you get the message out there? This is something that needs to be basically, all of these students need to know what this field is, because if they don't, we all know how it's growing, and, we don't want them to miss out on that. So for us, I guess the big takeaway is, thank you to these technology companies for providing a platform for an industry like us to really have an avenue to draw our young millennial workforce in. And with that, I am happy to introduce one of our students from SIUE who is due to graduate in May. Her name is Braden, and she's been working with us as her senior capstone project at the Esquiline. And I think really what Braden or what I would encourage all of us to do is really just take a moment and in this field of senior living and listen to someone who is getting ready to get out there, get into the workforce, who has now had exposure to this field, and what she and her other students are looking for as they start to seek employment. So with that, I'll introduce Braden.
Hello. I am Braden, and I actually am graduating here in about 3 weeks, which is a very exciting time, but also scary as I start to enter the workforce. But I've had the opportunity to work with the Esquiline, like Jen mentioned, in this time. It's been a great experience. And I think it started when the Esquiline actually came into my senior assignment class and presented themselves and offered these projects for us to participate in. The first one was Caremerge. I know, along with my class members, Caremerge, this industry we just weren't familiar with. It wasn't necessarily something that we were avoiding by any means, but it was something that isn't really on a radar, especially for our age range. It's just something that, I mean, we tend to be more attracted to more up and coming, more technologically driven environments, and this was just a way for us to just get a whole new experience. So just from our time spent with them, we've actually gotten to see how beneficial this technology gap has been and how we can step in to fill it. So when looking for a job specifically, I would say technology is huge. We do like real-time communication because this is something that we're all so familiar with. I mean, we have all used the internet at least some point in every part of our day. Getting through college, we're on email, we're, group messaging, we're in these interactive environments that technology usage is encouraged. I mean, I don't think I could have made it through. I know I couldn't have made it through college without the access to technology because it's just been such a vital part. I know for myself, efficiency with technology is huge. A way to have a streamlined communication service or network, some way to quickly communicate with somebody instead of running across the building to go talk to them. Being able to get a very quick response is important, and whether that be a good thing or a bad thing, we do like our direct communication, our quick communication. But it has also been something that I've noticed just with adaptability, like through the Esquilines not being able to use their technology to their full potential, we've been able to come in and help them adapt to this new change and just look at technology in a new way. It's been a really good experience because even though the staff and members of the organization know how to use technology at some extent, it's been good to open their eyes maybe to a new perspective of, well, these new things can be used to really get people interested. I mean, I know for the residents, they may not be as technologically savvy as most of us, but just even introducing this into that environment is a great way to just get them thinking and potentially using it more. And I mean, the communication implementation that we have come across through our time there has been it's been fun for us. It's been fun for us to come in and take the skills and the knowledge that we know about technology and help them do simple things like know how to create different templates or different features that may not be addressed, and giving responsibilities to people my age like this has been really it's great because we've been able to take a sense of ownership and pride, and it's given us a purpose for wanting to be here and to be involved. And I think that's great because it'll ultimately help us want to be a part of an industry like this. So I think for us, we tend to look at technology as more of what we can do, what it can do for us rather than what we can do for it. I mean, we want technology to serve us and to help make our lives a little easier. And I think Caremerge does a great job of doing that. And in this industry, we've just really been able to jump in and to help the communication process.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Braden. We really appreciate that. Some very interesting insights. As I was hearing you speak, what's your view of long-term care now that you've been working with Caremerge, you've been working with the Esquiline? How do you feel about long-term care now?
I think it's great, honestly. I mean, it was never on my radar, I think, coming into an organization, not because of the lack of importance of it or anything, but it was just something that I just never thought of. And now that it is, it actually is an attractive industry because it is such an industry that has such a need. And I think for people our age, we just don't immediately resonate to that. But I think with a little bit of access to this information, I think it can definitely change. And I've noticed that in my own life, and I can speak for my classmates on that as well.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights. We really appreciate it. And that will conclude our webinar. We really appreciate everyone joining us. It doesn't look like there's really any questions. I hope this was very helpful in how to use technology to recruit and retain millennials. Great insights from Jennifer over at the Esquiline. We really appreciate her time. Kim Kessler, as always, appreciated her insights and knowledge within the senior living industry. And Braden, thanks for joining us as well. It's been
absolutely
from a millennial's perspective. So thank you so much for everyone joining us. We're going to wrap up now, and everyone have a great day. Thank you.